Hey everyone, Hunter back again. Doing some prep work on the 1/32 scale Jaguar body that we're going to be painting tomorrow with the paint we mixed up in our House of Color bottle. The enamel thinned with lacquer thinner, and had a few mold lines and some other little minor issues with the body. I got them all straightened out. It's all coming along pretty good. Had to do some sanding back here on the back, coming down the quarter panels on both sides, and it kind of dulled out my panel lines a little bit. So I went back in with my scriber and just basically ran around the panel line pretty much like that, and it takes out just a little bit of plastic each pass. And if you remember in one of my other videos, I did it with a toothpick, with a sharpened toothpick. Now, there's a reason why I did it with a toothpick in that video, and I'm doing it with a scriber at this point here. At this stage here, we're in the bare plastic. We don't have any paint or anything on this body. So, what I'm doing is actually going in and scribing the lines just a little bit deeper where I had to sand this area here to get rid of the mold lines, and I also had a mold line that ran down the edge of the hood and dropped off the fender here. So when I got to sanding that out, it actually makes your panel line a little bit more shallow than what it was. So just take the scriber and go back in there and clean those out real good. And I use, the regular scribers at this stage because I need to take a little bit more plastic out. When I got into using the sharpened toothpick, I use the sharpened toothpick after I have a base coat down. And if I need to do any sanding, like with the lacquers or anything like that, as I sand that base coat, I will go in with the sharpened toothpick and clean out the panel lines, because it keeps from pulling all of the pre-shading paint that I have in my panel lines out. And if you were to do it with this metal scriber, it would pull all that out and you'd be back down to bare plastic again. So that's the reason why I don't use the toothpick on this stage. A couple other things. This scriber here happens to be an airbrush needle that was bent, and it's an old used up airbrush needle, and I just chucked it in a little pin vise and it works real good. I can adjust how far I want it to slide up and how far I want it to stick out. If I get into real tedious work, I can just loosen this up, and I can slide that in to around in that point there. If I want to do some real light work, I can actually slide it out to about right there and tighten it down, and works very good. It's a good use for an old airbrush needle that you can't really use in your airbrush anymore, but it works good for scribing lines. It's nice and sharp. And they sell, I think this is a Detail Master or somebody like that, they sell one that's just an aluminum, basically aluminum handle, and it has the scribing piece already in it. This one's a little too blunt for especially the small scale, so I like to use I can show you the difference here in them. You can see the point difference in those two pieces. This one here is a lot more blunt on the end. It's sharp on the very end, but it's a quick taper. And this one here is just a whole lot sharper altogether. So that's the reason why I use these on just the bare plastic and use the toothpick on anything that's been painted. And to bring you up to date where we're at on this one, I do have all the mold lines out of it. I had a couple pieces of flash and some panel lines that didn't quite line up right. I went back in and cleaned them up, scribed them, and I have wet sanded the whole car with 800 3M sandpaper, and then I went back with 1000 and sanded it again, wet sanded, and then I went out in the sink and rinsed everything off, cleaned all my lines out real good. So this thing is basically prepped and ready for the next stage that we're going to do. And actually the next stage I'm going to do on this car, it won't be on video, but I'm going to tell you and exactly what I do when I start the paint videos tomorrow. and I will tell you why I done that stage. There's a reason for that, but we'll get into that tomorrow. So I just wanted to bring you up to date where it's at right now, and everything's looking good. So we should have those videos up by about midday tomorrow. So stay tuned and check them out. If you're interested in learning how to use my technique on spraying testers enamels, or I won't really say any enamel, but definitely on the testers enamels, stay tuned for those videos. I think there'll be some good information in there. So I'm going to let you go on that tonight, and we will talk to you tomorrow.